guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Connector. I am your connector, Arielle Levitt, and I am here to connect you to people that I get connected to and just continue that ripple effect of knowing it's a who you know, not what you know. And I always feel like it is really who you know, because you can learn what you need to know to step up to the plate of actually figuring it out, right? We all can figure it out. So my guest today is Jenell Kelly, and I'm going to just talk a little bit. Hi, first off, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. And I love what you just said. So before I forget, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And when someone first said that to me, I was like, is it? And now I have realized it definitely is. So
totally,
you hit the mark there.
Yeah. Like I know you, and then you're going to be like, well, let's do this or brainstorm together, right? And they're like, okay, I can figure it out. Like we can all figure it out,
exactly
what we need to do. But it's just knowing that person and making that connection with that person.
Agreed.
To then, take the risk.
Yeah.
I love that this is so fun. This is why we connected.
I love how we met and then we forgot and then we remembered. So you'll have to share that.
Okay. So I'm going to get into that. Yeah. So, okay. So you host these coffee and chicks and coffee.
Chicks and coffee.
So I just dyslexic there a little bit, like just reworded it. But you host these and I was like, oh my gosh, I also do kind of like, chicks and coffee type of thing, like women business owners and coffee. And I was like, okay, I must meet this person because this is like right up my alley. They're speaking my language. And so I came. It was a holiday event that was beyond, oh my gosh. It was beautifully done. It was just so elegant and fun and festive and all the things. So we had breakfast and coffee and got to know each other and support other women business owners. And everybody was so inviting. And so I had the pleasure of sitting next to you. And we sat next to each other. We started talking and just like had a nice conversation. It was great. And it was during the holiday season. So we were so wrapped up in so many other things. So it just kind of like slipped our minds, like it was just like we met, we wanted to stay in contact, but then like 50,000 other things happened. And so then we re-met each other recently-ish again at a Pod Populi event. And we're like, wait, you look familiar. No, you look familiar. Wait, okay, how do we know each other? Let's put this together. So we did that. And then all of a sudden it came about and it was just like we got into conversation and now we're here because we're like, more people need to know about all of this that's happening, what you're doing, because I think you're incredible at creating community and creating and empowering people, empowering women, women business owners. So I need to like sit back up straight, guys. I'm slouching over here. I'm like getting into the microphone. So I'm going to just sit up straight. But yeah, so I really want to like talk about those things. And how did you even start that? You're a nurse, so you have all these different areas. So where do we start?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. It's so funny. Well, I do want to start with something you just mentioned. We met in December. And so thank you so much for coming to that because Chicks and Coffee is not possible without the women who show up, right? So when everybody thanks me for it, I'm like, no, thank you. Like this is nothing without you. And I want to give a huge shout out too to Lady Ashley's party planning. Ashley is a dear friend of mine and without her, it wouldn't be as elegant. It would be cute, but not elegant. So she definitely adds that touch. And how you mentioned we met there, we connected there, life got busy. But people who are meant to be in your world for one reason or another, they'll always come back around, right?
So
always. And I came here to the celebration because I thought, God, I love this place. I was here once before. Little did I know it would reconnect us. And little did I know I'd be sitting here on your podcast, right? So, but that's how life works. And it's really about setting intentions of what you want to create in the world. And then God and universe brings that all together, right? Like we don't have to worry about the how. To me, it's about getting clear on what it is you want to create. And that's how Chicks and Coffee came about. I have been a nurse for over 30 years. I specialized in ER trauma. It was my gig. It was my thing until the day I was exhausted. And I was probably exhausted for a lot longer than that day. But it was the day when the pain of staying there became greater, right, than being in my comfort zone. So there's a whole thing around that. And I didn't know what I know now at the time, or I wasn't aware of the things that I know now. That was 7 years ago. And because of that, I went into network marketing. And so, and in that arena, I had learned so much. It is such a beautiful vehicle to, maybe you're going to excel and become the expert in network marketing, or maybe it's a vehicle to take you on to where you're headed next. But there's so much in training and emotional intelligence work and really getting you out of your own way. And so that's kind of the journey that I've been on for the last 7 years. And through that became a transformational trainer and a clarity catalyst coach and all these beautiful things, author, speaker, things that it's like living a second life in the same lifetime. And I share it never to boast or brag, but just to be like, listen, if I could do it, you can too. And changing careers in your mid 40s as a single woman can be just a little lot scary, a little lot. It's like, let's not lie. I mean, it's like a roller coaster. Like, okay, one day I'm on a vacation and it's free and I'm drinking drinks in the pools in Mexico. And it could be 6 months later. It's like, oh, where's my income? Where did it go? Like, what do I do? And so, because it's a roller coaster and the emotions go with it. So learning to control the emotions was huge. And that's where emotional intelligent work and all the fun things came in. And last year I realized I didn't have a lot of community here in South Florida, like face to face. My community is all over the place. And I wanted to create that here. And so I set an intention and I literally just said to Ashley, I want to do a thing where everybody comes together because everybody wants to go to coffee with each other. And how many days do you have a week to go to coffee? And so what if we just did a monthly event where women could come and we could have like chicks and coffee? And there it went. And so we're going on month 7. We've grown from 6 women to well over 30 women. It's getting a little challenging. So if you're a business here in South Florida and you're open for breakfast and would love to help support women, we would love to come and bring the business to your establishment. And that's all about collaboration. And that's huge for me. I love to collaborate, create community, help people, quiet that itty bitty shitty committee in their head so they can get out of their own way and create their dreams and turn their desires into their destination. That's my passion.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to uncover and dig into this whole thing that you just said. I was like, okay, where do we start? Okay, I have all my notes here. Let's go. It's so good. It's so good. But it's interesting because you said you started online, right? You started with an online community. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, I think we do this in a way where we look outside of ourselves even. Mm-hmm. So we're looking online, we're looking at all the other places instead of just like here or looking back into ourselves, right? Like you could look at it so many different ways. And it's always externally looking for something, right? And sometimes it's just right here. Like 30 women here in this area that you are touching their lives. And that is a ripple effect of like what they're going to come out of that whole experience with, and then continue to create that with other people. And it's such a beautiful thing. And sometimes people feel like it all has to be online and I want to be the biggest and greatest and best, but you can be that here too, right? And be that in your community. And we all need community leaders. We need people that take this on in a community, because if we're not doing it here, like in our home base and our home, how can we do it other places? Or how can we actually really it's needed. And in connection and being together is so important. Like human connection, we need it. Like in the sense of like online is great. It really is. But if you can show up and like give somebody a hug and see them and like sit next to them, it's a very different experience.
Agreed.
And it's something that I feel like as a society, we're pulling away a little bit from, because everybody wants to be online. Everybody wants to be on Instagram. Everybody wants to do all this stuff. And it's like, yes, you're connecting, but it's also not as deep as you can get with somebody sitting next to them. And it's also losing that art of like joking around of something like, I think you and I even honestly, we were ordering the same meal. We were looking at the menu together. We were just like, what do you think of this and this? And like, we would have never had that time to connect or talk about those things. And it was fun. We had a great fun conversation. We're like, oh, I love spinach, or I hate spinach. I can't even remember I think we ordered frittatas or quiches or something like that. And we're like, do we want this quiche? What do we feel like? Okay, ham. Maybe I'm in a ham mood today or something, whatever it was. I got the spinach and cheese. So everybody, like, if you're wondering, I wanted the spinach and cheese. It was really good. But, it's just so important. And I feel like I'm so grateful that you are bringing that back to us. It's kind of going back to our ground roots, and it's, and and taking us home in a way, but yet you can grow and expand. There's amazing, amazing women in everybody's community. And a lot of people that start businesses are always like, I have to start online and build and create and get this community and start advertising to people out there and all that other stuff. And sometimes it's just here. It's in our backyard.
Yeah. And I think too, for me, the journey of, starting a business and being an entrepreneur, a lot of that was, that comparison. And until we know better, and even now, like, it's no thing. Like, I get to catch myself sometimes, like I'm like, oh, she's doing, and I'd say I'm like 95% cleaned up of that, because what I've learned is when we're comparing and we're trying to grow that big online audience like everybody else is, and you're comparing your beginning most likely to their middle or towards their end, and we forget where they started. And one of the most powerful things for me was like taking it back to just one life at a time, one person at a time. And I can slow my focus down to one person at a time. One person turned into 30 people, what felt like overnight, and as you grow, you realize like, you're like, oh, like now I get to step up because, all right, now I had this brand new program that came out, because it's like putting your foot on the gas and you get this momentum, right? And once you get into that momentum, next thing you know, it's like I said, lately, I feel like a kid in a candy store. Like the universe is like, here, would you like this? Would you like that? Would you like this? Or would you like that? And I'm like, oh my goodness, and then it's like, all right, I get to focus. And bringing that focus back to one person at a time. Who can I serve? And next thing you know, and like you said, in person it's just different. It's powerful. We had a 3-hour immersion here 2 weeks ago on the Insight to Illumination course. And it was just, I felt it. The people felt it. Like there was magic in that room. Nobody like exited that door the same way they walked in. And yes, you can create that online, but it's just not the same. And I think after COVID and just the world, like you said, that we live in, everything is virtual and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think if we really take the time, and it takes a little bit more work to find the places, to gather the people. And if you're new, I know you think like, is anyone going to show up? Right? Like that's another thing. So I think sometimes people may be a little bit afraid to create local live events, because what if I have one and nobody shows?
Or only one person shows up, or whatever it is, right?
Uh-huh.
Which I'm sure, like when you first started, you had like 7 people, right, show up or something.
I had 6, but when I first started, it was back 7 years ago when I did events in my home for health and wellness, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it was there, but I learned back then from mentors, like even if no one shows, continue to perform as if your room is full. Right? Life is about vision. Life is about bringing in. Life is about attraction. So if it's just you and your girlfriend, enjoy the wine you bought, put the presentation on like you have a room full of people, because they can't show up until you're ready for them. Right? And so, but so many people they turn around and they quit. They get in there, there's little voices in our head. They tell us we're not good enough and no one showed up and no one's going to come next time. It's like once you can shift those conversations and just visualize, like vision what you want. Like I've always visioned having a huge community of women live in person, like 30 people, let's multiply that times 300, and just really giving people the tools and the techniques to create the life that they want to have. And it's narrowed down to women. In the beginning, it was like, I wanted to help the world, like I have something for everyone. And then I had to learn. There's so many things we learn along the way. And like you said, impacting 30 lives. And I guess I never looked at it like I was like, oh, you're all impacting each other's lives, like Chicks and Coffee was just the blip, and then you all create the community. You all create that space for that growth and that learning. And life is difficult enough. No one should go it alone, feel okay. If you're scared to show up to events, just show up anyway.
Everybody else is.
Yeah. Put yourself in the room. Like you only get unafraid to do things once you've done them over and over again. We've all started scared. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
No, it's so true. And it's in women, if you're in the right group of women, we want to help each other. Mm-hmm. We want to support each other. And it's nice to know that you have a community or people wanting to like see you succeed. And it's really fun when you like even have similar businesses with each other, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, let's brainstorm, let's strategize. How can we, what are you doing? What can I help you with? Like, who do you need to meet? What can we do?
Yeah.
Because there's somebody for everybody and there's enough to go around.
Yeah, I think that too was something I had to grow out of, was realizing like it's not competition. Like I say that now, it's like you can't, no one wins or lose, like I only win when everyone's winning, and I learned that through a training I did that was called gratitude training. And unfortunately it didn't survive financially through COVID. So it's not here locally in South Florida, but it is still in North Carolina and New York. But I had to understand that, I wasn't showing up unless my whole team was showing up. I wasn't winning unless everyone was winning. And I'm like, wow, that doesn't make sense. I'm here, I'm on time, and I really shifted that whole way of seeing the world and being able to support one another. And the group of women that I have through my Isogenics team, phenomenal. They were so nice and so uplifting and so supportive. Like I was like, I don't trust you. What do you want from me? And I remember sincerely feeling like, I don't trust you. What do you want from me? Why are you being so nice? I had never met women like that before, and there I was in my mid 40s and I didn't realize that I had felt that way. And in the time I didn't realize it. It's just in reflection. I'm like, oh my goodness. And now I'm the crazy, nice, weird woman that loves to support people, right? And like cheer you on regardless of what it is that you're doing. And I'm like, how beautiful that I've shifted, from where I was now into where they were and who they were being. So yes, who we surround ourselves by, it matters wildly. The words we speak, the thoughts we have. And, do you ever share your big vision with somebody and some way or another, they find a way to make it like it's not going to happen, or maybe, it's just what you're trying to create is impossible. You got to get away, or just don't share that vision with those people because they don't mean to do it. Sometimes it's well-meaning people and they don't even realize what they're doing,
They think they're protecting you, right?
Yeah.
And we all want to protect you. Like, we don't want you to like get hurt or whatever, especially if you care about somebody, right? Like, and it's really not that, it's the risk taking. And it's the, as you fall, you get back up, you figure it out. Okay. Like maybe I'm not going to walk that way. I'm going to do it differently or whatever it is. I'm not going to go down that path. And it's just these fun, like risk taking moves that we get to take as humans.
I think life is like a beautiful, big, fun game. And 100% what we focus on, we find. Like I have proved it over and over and over again when it's come to my health, when it's come to finances, when it's come to relationships. Like I just sit here and I watch and I go, okay, you better be careful. Like you start to realize how powerful you are to work with God and universe. And all of a sudden you're in this little creator, but man, we can create some destruction, right? As much as we can create these big, beautiful things. So we have to be careful.
And talk about creation and everything. I have to you were just telling me this story right before we got on the podcast, which we probably should have just like waited for the whole thing to just like get on the podcast. But talk about creation and in visualization and on all this stuff of what you really turned around for yourself is, a year and a half ago, you had a stroke. And so can we just talk about this because of what you just said?
Yeah.
Really correlates back to this the whole thing and this visualization. Okay. I don't want to give it away, you guys. All right. Get into it. Let's get into
this.
My
goodness.
This is so juicy and good and like just powerful. It's so powerful.
Okay. So we'll go really quickly. 2011, my lower spine ruptured and it would result in paralysis, muscle wasting, the whole thing. You'll never walk again. Hello, right? High heels all, I'm walking. Life is great. 10 years later, I'm sitting in my car and a truck literally runs me over while I'm like stopped, right? So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And so the whole spine is messed up and they want to do surgery. And I'm like, I like have post-traumatic stress. I'm like, no, I do all the natural holistic things. I love emergency medicine and I love modern medicine, but I really love natural more than anything. And I believe our bodies have the ability to heal themselves. So with that thought, and I believe in visualization and I believe in prayer. And so when I had the cervical spine surgery, I came out 2 weeks later that an artery was dissected, a main artery going to the back of my brain, blood formed a clot. It shot through. Thank God it made it to my brain because otherwise I wouldn't be here. So I was like, it's crazy. I'm thankful for my stroke because the other piece of that was not so well. And after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, the artery never opened. And so the doctor was like, you should be okay. You'll probably be all right. And I'm like, okay, great. Thank you. And I'm trying to live my best life, but underlying, you're knowing that. And it's like, oh, that's a challenge. Right. And then last week I went and had a scan done and I'm going to the neurologist today, but from that report, everything is open. There's complete blood flow. And I'm just like, thank you. Like that's God magic, right? That's the power of visualization. I never stopped imagining blood flowing through both vessels back there, right? I never gave up. I never lived a life of the victim of a stroke. I never lived a life of someone knowing that any second that might like tear and that could be the end of it, you know? And it's taken a lot of emotional intelligence work, a lot of presence. But to me, that was all like such a big gift because that was the talk that I walked, and talk about having to walk it in such a straight line. And really, you know, the wisdom that I have received from that will be such a gift for other people because it's such a validation of what's possible, you know? And yeah, I think that relief will come. I'm like, I believe it, but I'll believe, like when Dr. Lynn tells me today, you know, and it's just a whole new feeling of relief. What will shift differently in my life? Probably not much because I'm really living exactly what it is I want to be creating. I may just live it with a little bit more relief or less tension that's like subconscious in the body, but I didn't allow that to dictate my life or control how I, how I act and how I would go about things. Yeah. So it was really a beautiful gift.
I mean, living in gratitude, you're really living in gratitude. Like, you're like, I'm so grateful I didn't die, God forbid, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to seize the day and carpe diem and all the things. And living in that higher vibration, which is so beautiful. It's so beautiful because it is not easy to do. You could totally go down the whole victim road.
Yep.
You could have decided, you know what, poor me. I'm so upset. Like, this is what happened to me. Let me talk about this. Let me obsess about this. Let me get in, you know, instead you're like, this happened to me, but we're going to focus on all these other amazing things that are happening right now too.
Yeah. And it was challenging. Like, don't get me wrong. Like the anxiety I experienced was like nothing I ever experienced before. Would come on like a freight train because there was just like this such a high risk of having another stroke that the minute I feel just a little bit off, it was like, and I had to utilize the tools that I teach and the trainings. And I would right back here, back to the present moment, you know? And to this year, I had about a 5-minute pity party. I'm not going to lie. In January, I was like, why do I have to start all over again? Like, I did this stuff already, you know, relaunching the business, doing all the things. And it literally like 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, that was fun. Get out of that. Like, get out of that. And really last year ended up being the most bounciest springboard into such a phenomenal 2024. Like, I can't believe what's all been created in 3 months. And, you know, this is where our challenges is what creates our growth. You know, our challenges, as long as we show up the right way. If not, we're going to just keep learning that same lesson over and over and over until we get it. You know, whether that be the relationships in our life, financial situations, work things, whatever that is, until we finally get off the hamster wheel of the pain that we live in or the comfort zone that we're in, like nothing changes, you know? So, and that's where I think community is beautiful and bringing women together, like you said. And I know you mentioned you have like a women's mastermind, right? Like,
well, I just was like, I want to get people together. I want other like women to teach each other and just kind of start offering this and showcasing women that are amazing in this area and that want to support each other. And it's just been fun how it's all evolved, right? Like, we just kind of just let it, play with it. We play in the playground, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Injured in a car accident, on the job, or just playing a game of pickleball? MedAmerica is the #1 clinic in physical therapy, occupational therapy, and chiropractic needs, specializing in sports, post-surgical, and orthopedic conditions. Located in Deerfield Beach, MedAmerica is here to help you get back feeling better than you did before. Visit their website at medamericarehab.com. That's med, America, AMERICA, rehab, REHAB.com. Mention the connector to receive 10% off any self-pay service. Today's podcast is sponsored by Pod Populi. Have you ever thought of starting a podcast? Not sure where to start? Pod Populi makes it easy. With over 20 podcast studio locations nationwide, they host over 100 podcasts. Pod Populi is a full-service podcasting studio. With video and audio production, they help you put your idea into the best podcast. Visit podpopuli.com to book your time to talk to an expert on getting started. That's pod, PODPOPULI.com, and mention The Connector for 10% off your first year. Okay, so we are just talking about all this evolving and everything, and it's so good. And I love also that you are a nurse, so you have that medical background, and then you also have the holistic background of things, and you really merge both of them together. And like you said, there's a certain point for like, emergency medicine, but then there's also so much that the body can do and visualization and our like brains are so powerful. They're so powerful.
Yeah. When you start to realize that it's, being in the hospital started to be very challenging for me because as I started to understand more things and become more conscious and shift the lenses through which I saw the world and realized how powerful we are as individuals from the inside out. A hospital is a place of disease, right? Disease. Like when you get it, you get it. Like, and trust, right? I've had all these injuries. I've had all these things. And I go, gosh, that's so interesting. There's a book called The Body Keeps Score, I think is what it's called.
It's a great book.
Right? Okay. I don't think I got past page 36 because it totally led me down a path of major realizations of things from childhood trauma, which I then went on a journey of clearing and cleaning that up, and I was like, and I never got past page 36 and I got so much out of it. So I get to go back, but it was just so amazing to what happened just from like one sentence. This is why reading books and listening to podcasts and like being willing to take the time, to me, that's self-care because you never know, like one sentence can change so much in your life. Right. But that's a great book to read. So when we realize that disease is dis-ease, uncomfortability, many times physical illness or mental illness, like it will show up in our lives because we're keeping ourselves in things that do not serve us, right? We're staying too long in relationships, in jobs. We're holding on to old beliefs that just, where did they even come from? They could be from like ancestors from eons ago, and nobody in the family has been the person to break that pattern yet, right? And the people we see that are the people who are out there breaking the patterns, that's usually, what do we call them? The black sheep of the family, the goat, whatever it is, because you're doing things and your family's like, is she okay? Like, should we call like a psychiatrist? Like, what is she doing? Like, I'm leaving management in the healthcare realm to go sell shakes out of my trunk. They're like looking at me like I'm crazy. And it's just, and I'm like, no, I was like, and I became a whole different person. And when we do that, we just start to realize the control we have over what happens in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful. It's amazing. I love how I love how you look at the world. You really do. And it goes back to that playground feeling, right? Of taking risk and just living. And we have one life and we might as well like really live it and enjoy it and take the risks and maybe not go the conventional way or whatever it is, but it's just trying things on, right? That's what we get to do in this life, in this world, is try this on. How does this feel? Okay, I like this. Okay, I'm going to continue with this. No, you know what? This doesn't really suit me. I tried it for a little bit. I'm going to go back to doing what I did before, whatever it is. Or I want to combine the two in the sense of like nursing and, conventional medicine and Eastern and Western medicine, right? Like you're just like, let's combine it. Let's go down this path too. I like both things of it. Whatever it is. And it's so beautiful.
I think too, when we learn to, we talk about connection, right? And we're talking about community and connection and creating things. And I think what happens is when we really learn to connect with ourself, our higher self, because so often we're living from these lower personas, right? Men have like 5, women have like 6 to 7, maybe 10. It's true. We have more. And I can't help it. But when we connect and create a relationship with our higher self, and whether that be God or universe or whatever it is for each individual, and really start to learn who we are beneath the layers, beneath the armor, beneath the stories, it's like oh, like I discovered we were in a process one time in the training that I went through, and it was like, hey girl, here you are. Like, I've been waiting for you, because all of a sudden I did all the work and all the things, that weren't true went away. And then I was like, oh my God, here I am, and then when we create from that space, it's a whole new life. I'm literally living a second life in this same lifetime. There were just things that are completely different. And, you start to just let go of the opinions and the worry and the judgment. And it doesn't always go away. You get to learn how to shift the conversation within your own head. So you get to do the work. Mm-hmm. People show up to my courses, my classes, and they come and you can tell who's really doing the work. And you can tell who's done an exercise. And I love everybody, and it's just where we are, because I was a stubborn one. You could teach me things. I'd be like, At first I was going to prove you wrong. I was not going to believe it. Then I was going to do it, So you got to love everybody where they are. Nobody's broken. No one needs to be fixed. We're exactly where we're meant to be. And whatever time we're there, and that's grace, right? Mm-hmm. Got to give myself grace. And when you give yourself grace, you can give others grace. And that's what changes the world. That creates more love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And as humans and as souls, we want to be in the state of ease. Like our body truly, that is our base level.
Yeah.
And we don't stay in that. Our ego, our protector, finds every reason for us not to stay in that state.
Yeah.
And then we get so far away from that state that when we need to come back to it, we're like, this is uncomfortable. What? Like ease? I'm just supposed to be in ease? And it's just that. And when we are at ease, like you said, things flow and then you have these new options and ideas and thoughts and like, I'm going to create a mastermind. I'm going to do chicks with coffee or chicks and coffee. Oh my
it's okay. It's chicks, it's coffee. It's
or like now I'm going to, it's going to 30 people. You know what? Let's have ease and let's grow it to 3,000 people, whatever it is. Or let's start doing it here or at other places. Yeah. And let's start getting other people involved. And it's just, it's ease in our body.
So many people, we live in what's called fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And then we get into adrenal fatigue. So if we think about it, like my life wasn't an ease. Like it wasn't the environment for ease. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So many people will listen to this and be like, yeah, that's great. That's nice, girls. But how do I get to ease? Right.
Okay. So how do we get to ease?
How do we get to ease? Because there's a lot of undoing. There's a lot of undoing to become. I'm sure there's a statement out there that says that like undo whatever to get to who you truly are. Right. There's a thing I put in my trainings. It's like, do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? Right.
So good.
Yeah. Because some people grew up in violence. Some people grew up in abuse. Some people grew up in poverty. Some people grew up being made fun of by people, right? Some people just the self-judgment was so heavy. Are we talking about myself? Probably I'm going to tell you everything about myself, right? And it's like there was all these stories and all these things. And then being called to go, I never wanted to be a nurse, but I was called in to be a nurse. Like I was like, oh, okay, I'm a nurse, and I dealt with trauma and death and life. And so the armor just layered it on, right? Because that's how we handled those things and all the habits that I thought were like filling a void that weren't. And so there was so much to undo. And so getting to a state of ease, even to this day, I mean, especially after traumatic, like bodily injury stuff, right? Like our body's in protection mode. And so it's continuous work. Like I find different things. And even now I've been talking to people. I'm like, okay, now I've gone through, okay, the vessel's open. This is great, right? Okay, now let's handle this one last little thing over here. And what I'll notice is when I lay in bed tonight at night, I go to sleep. Like I have no problem sleeping. It's beautiful. I wasn't always like that. But sometimes what I'll notice is I'm laying there and I think I'm totally chill and relaxed and I find my hand is clenched. And I'm like, well, damn, Jenell, relax your hand, or I wake up and my jaw's clenched. And there's a tension in me that I used to not have, and here I think I'm at ease, but I think what's happening is I'm becoming more and more aware of it because the other chaos that was going on from the car accident and stuff for the last 3 years is going away. And the relaxing from not being in the emergency department area, anybody who's been in service in the military and any kind of battlefield, frontline workers, they'll come go, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, right? So, but anyone who's been through abuse, or if you've been in someone who's in survival mode your whole life, a lot of women, like they're in survival mode trying to make ends meet, having like great careers and still trying to make ends meet, or women with children, maybe they're single mothers, or even if you're a family. So getting at ease, it's crazy because it does take some work. It takes work. And there are plenty of tools and techniques and amazing people out there that, so many healing modalities, but you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to take the time. And I think that's challenging sometimes for people.
I love how you brought this just up, because I'm going to talk about myself for just a second. Mm-hmm. But I've been like, lately, my nervous system has been on like, I feel like steroids. Mm-hmm. Like I have just been, and normally I can go to bed and I can sleep really well. Like when you said you have no problem sleeping, I'm like, well, that used to be me, like up until about a month ago. And then all of a sudden my nervous system is not that. And I feel myself like clenching. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing attention back to it, because like I didn't even notice that. And then I was like, okay, like for a month, I have not been sleeping well, and things have not been good. I've been under more stress than I normally am, or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, so now like, let's start going through that meditation process in a way, like relax your feet, relax your legs, and like noticing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really have to consciously like relax them. Normally it would just relax. Like I would just get into that. And now I'm like, okay, no, relax my hands. And so I've been bringing meditation back into my whole life a little bit. And last night I did that, and I just like had the best sleep ever. Not ever, but like, really like a long time. Yeah. And I was just like, it's so true. We hold so much of it in our bodies. So you must do a lot of meditation, or
I go through periods where I do more than other. Like I think my practice in the morning that I do before I even open my eyelids is a form of meditation, and just my whole prayer with God. Because once I always joke, I'm like, once I open my eyelids, I have 2 little fur babies that it's like, boop, 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 like we're awake, and, I'm getting like licked all in my face. So there's nothing. It's like, okay, so I just pretend I'm still asleep, and I do my whole prayer and process then. And then, because once I open the eyes, it's like, we got to get out. It's like having kids, you can't just lay there. And with that being said, that's where I have found that the use of like natural adaptogens, like adaptogenic herbs, is something that's been used in the company that I'm with for over 22 years. And I've been using them for the last 7 years. So I can't even imagine where my body would be without it. But there's really things out there that are natural that help decrease the effects of stress on the body, that help improve our cardiovascular health, because stress is a #1 killer.
100%.
And look at the years that we went through. Like, hello, the whole world is like, after working in the ER that first year is when I realized, because for me, it was about the incongruency of the whole situation. But it caused a lot of stress, and that's where I started waking up with clenched jaws and all this stuff that I didn't used to have. But like, it's every day. We get to work on this stuff every day.
I know, it's fun.
It's self-love, like
it's a new thing. And like, it's a little adventure now. I feel like I'm going on with myself. I'm like, okay. And I had some CBD the other day, and I was like, let's take some CBD. Great. Like, let's just do it, because I need to change this habit, or change this pattern, I should say, because I don't want to create it into a habit. And I don't want to have this for like long term and then have more issues down the road. Nope. We're going to nip this in the bud and take care of it, and start changing these patterns. So I'm like, okay, let's start meditating more. And eventually, like, maybe I'll take myself off CBD, or, I keep hitting the microphone thing and talk with my hands as you're sitting here.
I'm doing good this time.
You're doing so good. I'm like, hands everywhere. So I, because eventually I don't want to be, for me, I don't like to be dependent on things. Mm-hmm. And so for right now, I need talk about, Eastern and Western medicine, or whatever it is, right? Combining 2 things to just kind of get to where you need to be. And then eventually you can wean yourself off of things, or change a different way, and, using both things together. Yeah. So that's what I feel like I'm doing right now.
You're amazing. Like, I wanted to tell you that what you're doing though is like top tier self-love. Because sometimes we know what we're supposed to do and we don't do it. And how often are we like willing to do things for other people, and then we won't take the 30 minutes or the 60 minutes a day to take care of ourselves? And that's we really got to check in with that, because I'll tell you, as someone who laid in a hospital bed, stroking for 24 hours and just laid there and was just like, there's nothing. Like, I literally was told, I was going to say, you could tell me that you would give me $1 million and it wouldn't have mattered. And I did lay in that bed, and that day a settlement was done from the car accident, and the call came in, oh, you received your settlement. I was like, so what? Like, so what? Like when I tell you, when they say money doesn't matter and your health is everything, when I tell you the things that God let me experience through that whole thing, it was amazing. Cause I'm like, oh, you are not kidding. Like we say it, but do we really mean it? You know, because if we really meant it, we would be taking that time off from work. We would be taking that daily time to do the practices, you know, putting ourselves first. And not like making up every excuse that we have to take care of everybody else. And we think we're doing great. Like we think that's a good thing. But the best thing to do is take care of yourself, you know? Nothing else matters without our health. I promise you. Like nothing, you know?
100%. I see it. Yep. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Oh my gosh, this is so good. And you have courses and you have programs and you have your own stuff. Like you are amazing. And so where can people find your courses and you and connect with you and stay, like get all the information of what you do and yeah, like be in your circle. Like,
yeah. Well, you know, if you're local, we love for you to join Chicks and Coffee. I'm also going to be doing, Facebook is huge. I know, Instagram too, but I'm really big on Facebook. Sorry. It took me till I was 43 to get into the social world of media. I really thought it was an invasion of my privacy. I'm telling you, I've come a long way. So on Facebook, just as Jenell Kelly, is the best way. You'll find like if I'm doing a Think and Grow Rich for Women mastermind coming up on April 16th, if anyone's interested to jump into that. Also chatwithjenell.com is a great way to just schedule a 15-minute connection call and we can just, you know, chill and we'll tell you about the different programs that we have. I have an old website, but we're redoing it. So I'm not going to put that out there, but just find me on Facebook is the best thing to do.
You're very custom, I would say. You're like, let's see what works for you. Like, where do you need to start? What do you need to do? Like, what's your level? And like, let's customize this to you. Mm-hmm.
And I do a lot more group stuff, but I have different programs so that, you know,
you're guiding.
The one-on-one it's really nice, but there's something about group and community for me. I tried one-on-one. It's not my gig. Happy to do it if someone really wanted it. But definitely we have the Clarity Catalyst, the Insight Catalyst, Insight to Illumination, which is a 5D framework that just takes you from desire to destination. You know, you have that vision, let's bring it to life. Just like this, I say anytime on someone's podcast, I'm like, just like this podcast was for you, right? It was a thought and a vision. And now here you are creating magic in the world. And what episode is this now?
This is 90.
Number 90.
It's insane.
And like,
but this is 90 with this, like, okay, so I've had 3 podcasts. This is my 3rd podcast.
Okay.
And so it's probably like 200 or whatever, but with one podcast, I think it's pretty incredible to have 90 episodes.
It's
the other
amazing.
ones I did about like 60 or so. And so now it's our 50 to 60 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah, so
and the
it's
value.
Fun. It's fun. And the experience you learn about yourself. And it's amazing the stuff that you learn, right? Like it's taking those steps and all of a sudden you just learn more about yourself and what feels good. I mean, we get to really feel in this life. So feel it, right? Like, let's just feel all the things.
I love that. Well, some people are afraid to. They're afraid, right? We're afraid to feel hurt. We're afraid to feel pain. We're afraid. And what if we like leaned into it? You know, how about when that stress or that scare or that anxiety or that doubt comes up, like just lean into it, investigate that a little more. Where is that even coming from? Because I promise you 99.9% of what you're telling yourself is just not even true. It's not true. Like we're making it up. We're the director of think of life as like a movie and you're the director. So are you going to create like a fun comedy drama? Who knows? Or are you going to do like this horrible horror movie starring you? Like it's your choice, you know? And some people go, but look at this in my life and look at that in my life. Okay, but you created that from old energy and old vibration. So like when we're creating things from a current circumstance, like that's not currently what's happening. That is kind of the result of what did happen, right? So yeah, and when we start to realize that, we can have so much fun. And so much fun. And be so less afraid of things that just aren't even true, you know? Yeah.
Totally. Oh my gosh, you are amazing. I am so grateful we are reconnected. It is like,
I'm excited.
It's so good. And now everybody's connected to you and they know more about you. And thank you for sharing everything you just did because it's just so inspiring. So you are so inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm so grateful to know you. And all right, everybody, if there's something in this episode that you're like, hey, I want to know more about, I want to, talk to Jenell about, or whatever it is, reach out to me, reach out to her, whatever it is, post about us on Instagram, share it with your friends. If there's something in this episode that you're like, hey, I really loved and I would love my friend to hear it. It helps more people to learn about everybody and get connected and create a community. That's what we're here. We're doing community. We want to help create more community in the world and connection. So I look forward to seeing you all next week. Oh, before you can go, I'm holding you guys hostage. Do not go. Can you rate, subscribe, a review, or whatever, write a review, subscribe, all things backwards. Oh my gosh. Okay. Do all the things. It really helps the podcast, and share it with other people. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you taking your time. I love the comments. I love the all the reach outs and what I hear about with the episodes. It warms my heart. I love hearing from everybody. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you all next week for a whole new episode.